Order. This is the February 2nd, 2010 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of North Hudson. And I would ask our Administrator, Gloria, if she will please take the roll.
Trustee Cawthorn.
Here.
President Klein.
Here.
Stanifer.
Here.
O'Brien Berglund.
Here.
Thomas, absent. Whalen, absent. Zappa.
Here.
And I would ask our audio technician if he could turn down the reverb.
He did.
Thank you. Okay. Gloria, this says amend the minutes from the board meeting of November 3rd. Well, I think we have those. I'm sorry, would you say that again?
Number two.
Item
actually,
number
is
two
review and
is
approve the
actually the
regular board
January,
minutes
approving
first.
the January minutes. That comes before the
Oh, I'm sorry.
revision.
I got you. I'm still on mids. Okay. Review and approve the minutes from the regular board meeting of January 5th. Entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the board minutes from the meeting of January 5th, 2010.
Thank you, Colleen.
Second.
Thank you, Darrell. Any discussion on these meeting minutes? All in favor of accepting the meeting minutes as presented indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, now I'm back on track. The next document that you see in your board packet describes the reason and the necessity for adjusting the meeting minutes from the November 3rd, 2009 meeting. Gloria, is there a need for any further discussion on this?
I don't think so, other than the fact that it was something that was not prior, it was something that was discussed and that should be in the minutes, and the motion needs to be stipulated in the minutes for the records.
Would it be appropriate for the audience's sake for me to read that motion down at the bottom?
And possibly the information in front of it, just because
Okay.
that is also going to be added.
This piece right here.
Yes.
What will be added is the following. It was determined that the board would consider a motion to begin the process of removing the fire protection charges from the general fund and placing them on the utility bills. There was lengthy discussion by the board to determine the proper wording for the motion so that all users of fire protection charges would be included, not just those residents who currently receive water utility bills. It was determined that, quote, general service customers, unquote, would refer to all people in the village who would benefit from fire protection services. The motion then was, Klein moved that the Village of North Hudson request of the Public Service Commission the authority to establish the rates that would provide for direct billing of water utility fire protection, public fire protection cost to general service customers. Second by Zappa, and it passed by a 7-0 vote. So the motion tonight is to amend the minutes, and I'll make the motion to amend the minutes from the village board meeting of November 3rd, 2009 to include the discussion and motion that I just read.
Second.
Thank you, Darrell. Further discussion. Later in this meeting, we will be discussing this topic in further detail.
I would also just add that Gloria went back and watched the videotape, so that happened at the meeting.
Yeah.
We talked
Yes,
about
it
that
did.
at finance.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, all in favor of amending the meeting minutes of November 3rd indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. It is at this time of our board meeting where we invite anyone who would like to address the board on any topic that is not on the agenda. This is your time to speak. There being none, we'll move right along. Number 5, Class B alcohol beverage license and amusement license. I believe we have, was this, okay, we have a revised, Gloria, this is the revision that was,
Correct.
okay. Please cross out the document that was in your board packet that related to this, and the new, and insert the revised issue statement. Okay, do we need to add any further information than what's on here?
Number 1 has been satisfied.
Okay,
Correct, Becky? Would you like to update the board on this? She prepared this and has been
Oh,
working with
okay.
the applicant on this.
Sure. The applicant had submitted the paperwork. There was some documentation and things that they were still in the process of getting. Actually, they are here and can answer questions as well, but there are a few pieces of information that we are still waiting for, and until we get those pieces of information, we won't actually be able to issue the license. So the revised issue statement just enumerates the pieces of information that we are still waiting for.
And need to be a condition of that
Right.
approval.
I move to approve the revised issue statement.
I'll second.
Can you state
you want to read this?
conditions need to be stated in the motion?
Mark, would you state the conditions as stated here in the issue
Issue
statement?
number 1, any outstanding payment obligations to the village are satisfied. A valid Wisconsin seller's permit number is provided to the village. 3, the village receives a signed copy of the lease. And 4, a report from the health inspector is provided to the village. There's a second part of the issue statement for the coin-operated amusement license with one condition, and that's the names of the 5 coin machines is provided to the village.
Thank you, Mark.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I think the coin-operated amusement license needs to be a separate motion.
Yeah,
Let's finish the liquor license first and then go on to a claim license.
okay.
Well, then I'll restate my motion to, I move to approve the revised issue statement for the original alcohol beverage license.
If
Could
you
we,
need another second,
Only.
I'll second.
Second. Yeah.
Okay. Could we identify what this Seasons Tavern, where it is?
Is at the 501 6th Street North, the old North Point property.
Thank you. Everything's cleared up regarding liquor license?
What I'm waiting on, I talked to Paul Walters this morning.
Excuse me,
Oh,
could you
sure.
please use,
Of course.
and identify yourself. This is your opportunity to
What?
put in a little advertisement for yourself and your establishment.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brad Reebers, and I am currently working on opening up the former North Point property, and I want to call it Seasons Tavern. My intent is to run a family neighborhood restaurant. I have a background in the restaurant industry of about 20 years. Coming from St. Paul, I most recently worked as a GM at a restaurant in Rosedale Mall called Flame. It was operated by Hemisphere Restaurant Partners. Prior to that, I was bar manager, front of house manager at the Tavern on Grand in St. Paul for 17 years, from 1990 to 2007. And I've always known the property at the old log cabin, as many of us know it as, but you know, I saw an opportunity there 5 years ago, didn't take it. Now it came available again, and I couldn't turn it down one more time. So with that, I'm working on all the documents that we need. I did have some interesting times doing an online submission of an application for the seller's permit. And so I did talk to Paul Walters with the Wisconsin Department of Revenue, got some stuff squared away, faxed my application to him. He received it this morning. He's forwarding it on to Madison, and we are waiting result of the seller's permit ID number, which he told me would be about a 24-hour turnaround. So I anticipate that tomorrow morning or by the end of the day tomorrow. The second issue regarding the lease, I've been working with Jerry Moritz at the Riverbank and also with Shane Benoit. And I'm trying to track down a couple different things. We have a verbal agreement on the lease, and I have the revised copy with me if anyone would like to look it over. What I'm trying to do is lock down a purchase price from Shane as well, so I can add that into the lease, because I have an option to buy and a first right of refusal in the lease. So I'm trying to lock some of those things down as well. And just haven't been able to tie those loose ends up. If granted, I would definitely, I plan on getting those resolved by the end of the week, hopefully. But I can't, I'm trying to get a hold of Shane and trying to lock some things down, so. But it's, as far as where we, for Seasons Tavern, we are committed. We've been in the space for the last 2 weeks, working daily, making some improvements, cleaning. I don't know if anyone's heard, it was not left in the best shape, unfortunately. So there are some issues that we've been dealing with. The fire marshal was in there today, and he guided us with the direction that we needed to go to for that. And I am talking to Lori at the health department. I believe her name is Lori, and she will be in there this week as well to make sure that we are continuing down the right path. So that is where we're at. But we are committed. My goal to open is February 17th. And that's Ash Wednesday, as we all are familiar with, I think. So hopefully that we can move forward with this. So.
And that answers the question why you're asking us for alcohol beverage license tonight, before you even have the all your other ducks in a row.
Yes, there are a number of things that, we were trying to time this out to really to have everything fall into place. So our goal is to, we're kind of banking on the liquor license. We don't see any problem, but obviously that is in your hands. So.
Right.
And the past license was surrendered, so we do have this available.
That's why the hearing was canceled.
That's why I wanted to bring that up, to make sure that those people who were aware of what had transpired previously and the difficulties, that they're all behind us now, and you can be issued this clean liquor license. Well, we wish you luck. Many of us in the community had frequented that restaurant, that building, over many years.
Yeah. As have I. It's a neat space. So
we still remember the caboose in the basement.
Wow, I don't.
Some of us go.
I remember when it was a bowling alley.
Yeah, I was getting down to that.
Yeah.
When we moved into town, it was a hole in the ground with a orange storm fence around it.
Okay.
I don't want to tell you what I remembered on it.
No, we won't go there. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, we did.
We didn't vote on this.
Yeah, well, we didn't vote on it yet, but Mark made the motion and Colleen made the second.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. I would now entertain a motion for the coin-operated amusement license.
I move to approve the coin-operated amusement license for Seasons Tavern BDC LLC with an effective date through 30 June 2010 as recommended by the village clerk, with one condition, and that is that the name of the 5 coin machines is provided to the village.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the names of the, any discussion on the coin-operated amusement? I just find it amusing how it's worded. This is Michael, and this is Sarah, and this is John. I think you guys know what the clerk needs for that. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We wish you all the success there is for you. All right. Item, good. With this, so she's not on here. We're not here. Move her up. Yeah, as a
That might
courtesy.
be a nice thing
As
to
a
do.
courtesy. All right. I'm going to, at the recommendation from the clerk, exert my executive influence here and move item number 11B up to the next item for discussion, and that would be the recycling presentation. Jennifer, I understand you're going to address the board regarding recycling.
I am.
All right.
And thank you for accommodating my schedule. My husband and I are kind of passing ships these days. He works nights, so I apologize for
Okay.
being late, and I appreciate you accommodating the schedule.
Please, Jennifer, just start off by telling the board not only your name, but also your role in recycling.
Sure. My name is Jennifer Havens. I'm the St. Croix County Recycling Specialist. I've been the County Recycling Specialist for 7 years almost in April. And what that role involves is administering the recycling program from the county. That includes assisting municipalities with their municipal contracts, as well as special event recycling. I think most people get our Your Wasteline newsletter with the information. We do tires, appliances, electronics, and hazardous waste each year. So my main duties are setting those contracts up, getting those in place, providing the service, helping municipalities with their curbside recycling contracts, and any questions residents may have about what do I do with, and you can fill in the blank, because that's could be anything different on any other day. So it's my main responsibilities. This last year, it seemed like everybody was sort of on the same cycle of getting their curbside contracts done. So I did a lot of helping municipalities do their curbside contract, and also worked with Jim Thomas and Gloria and Becky and many others on some helping with the contract, getting that negotiated, getting the RFP together, things like that. So that's kind of my role. And there were some questions submitted that Becky had sent over that I'd be happy to answer. Otherwise, I can kind of give you some brief information about kind of where the recycling program is at or moving forward. I know there was some interest in knowing what's happening in the future, what are we seeing as trends. Otherwise, if there's specific questions from the trustees, I'm happy to do that.
The floor is yours.
Okay. I have a few visuals, so let me just grab this stuff. Oops, there they go. Okay. Nothing too exciting, but as far as recycling goes, I didn't want to bring a bag of trash in here, so.
We appreciate that.
One of the questions that I was forwarded is what is happening what kinds of trends are happening curbside? Are we going to see plastic bags recycled? Are we going to see number 5 plastics or number 7 plastics recycled? Right now is a difficult time to ask that question. The economy is just not at a place where businesses are willing to invest in new equipment or new systems to recycle some of those harder to recycle plastics. So I think the potential is definitely there for recycling additional plastics, but don't be surprised in at least these next couple of years as the economy recovers that they really only want your number 1s and 2s plastics. I mean, that's just really the case we're in right now. About 3 years ago, we were seeing lots of progress in recycling number 5s, number 6s, and number 7s.
Explain, if you will, Jennifer, how I can tell the difference between looking at a piece of plastic, whether it's a 1 or a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, or
Sure.
for all I know, a dozen. 12,
Sure.
rather.
The best thing to do, and for those of us that, eyesight is starting to go, plastics with a neck are generally recyclable. So if you look at your pop bottles, your milk bottles, things like that, you want to be looking for plastics that have a neck on them. So that's the first indicator. Then the second indicator is the chasing arrow symbol. And generally it's either found on the label of the product or the bottom of the product. And it typically has a number in it. And it should have a number 1 or a number 2. And that tells you that it's readily recyclable at your curb or at your recycling center or wherever. And what makes those recyclables, each number doesn't really tell you the recyclability. What it tells you is the properties. So the number 1 has certain properties. It melts at a certain temp. It has a certain thickness. It has all to do with the properties of the plastic, not the recyclability of the plastic. But generally, 1s and 2s are what you're going to see: pop bottles, milk jugs, detergent jugs, things like that. Things like that. That's what you'll be looking for. And I think the industry is going to come around for the other plastics. I really think that in our lifetime, we definitely are going to see markets for 5, 6s, and 7. It's just not going to happen right now. And as far as the film plastics, what we see with the Walmart bags and the grocery store bags and things like that, there's outlets for recycling those. It's just not curbside. So you can take those to Walmart, you can take them to Family Fresh, you can take them to County Market. All of those retail locations do take those film plastic bags for recycling.
One of the questions that I know people have talked or things come up in discussion, then people ask me about it because I'm involved in this to some degree. And they want to know, okay, I'm in a grocery store. Should I use the paper bag or the plastic bag? Which is more easily recyclable? And when you look at it, I've got to make another trip, or I know I'm going to go back to the grocery store again so I can take the bags back there. But I also know that I've got that green bucket with the red lid on it that I can throw that paper bag in.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be more convenient. Would you comment on that?
Absolutely. My first answer would be bring your own bag, but I'm about 50% of that, to be honest with you. I try my best, but sometimes you just get to the store, you get in the store and say, I'm not going back for my bag. It's slushy, it's gross out, I'm not going back for them. But in the case where you have to choose, you really have to decide how you're going to use it. I know pet owners love to take plastic bags, and we love that pet owners take plastic bags because that means they're taking care of their pets. I find that when I choose a paper bag because, again, I collect my recyclable paper in it, and I put it right in my recycling bin, and it does save me a trip. But you don't always get that choice when you're at, like, a department store. You don't always have that choice. But the market for film plastics is really good. I mean, really, really good. That Trex that you can buy for decks and fences and things like that, the wood, composite plastic wood, that's where those plastic bags are going, right into that. And there's a huge market for it. So if you're completing the cycle and you choose, as long as you're choosing to use it and then return it to the system, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just when you make the decision about paper or plastic, think about what your next step is going to be, and that's really the priority. But, they both take resources to make, they both take resources to recycle. You have to really look at how you're going to be using it and take that next step. Excellent. I think one of the other big questions from the group was about composting and what is legally required for composting and how composting is collected. I don't know, maybe that was a question from Jim? It doesn't matter who it's from, but from Jim, okay. There was a question about composting. In the 7-county metro area of the Twin Cities, they are required to have their yard waste in compostable bags. And it is their law, the 7-county metro area. So there is some confusion because we get our media from there and the messages spill over that it's a Wisconsin state law. That is not true. You can take compostable material in regular black trash bags. It is then the requirement on your hauler that they have to empty those bags. Yard waste cannot go into a yard waste facility in a black plastic bag. It can go into a yard waste facility in a compostable bag, but it cannot go into a yard waste facility in a normal black plastic bag. And I actually did bring the guidance document from the DNR about compostable yard bags, and I brought a sample of the bags, and these are used by the Village of Roberts, and they have their own composting site, and I can leave one here for the village if you think you would be interested in looking into getting bags as an option. A lot of municipalities, to ensure that they're available, buy them. The village will buy it, the town will buy it, the city will buy it, and then sell them back to their residents in order to ensure that they're collected in the proper bag. Now, there's no requirement that they have to be in compostable bags. So, and I looked at your contract today, and the contract does not require you to have your materials picked up in compostable bags either. So they're an option, but it's not a requirement for what the village is doing. Now, you also have the option in the village, which is brand new. I think you're one of the first ones to have it, is to have the compostable cart, or the cart for yard waste. And you can, I think it's, I don't know, $2.50 or something like that a month for a cart for your yard waste. And that is a really, really new program. I don't know that many other municipalities have that. And it's a great opportunity. And I know I can't buy tags for less than that a month, so I think I might be ordering a cart when I need it for my yard waste. Any other questions about yard waste? Composting? Jim's probably the one with all the questions, and he's not here to ask them. So.
Aren't we lucky?
Jennifer, there was a question that had come up from somebody about the discrepancy between the information on recycling that we get from Veolia and that's available on our website and Veolia's website versus what's available on the county's recycling website. Can you shed a little light on that?
And I just met with Randy Triplett, your new regional contact person, on Friday. Actually, we were talking about that. The reason that the county site is, or the information on the county site is the way it is we have to be very conservative with the information we put out there, because we represent a whole lot of haulers. And not that we represent them, but we have to give information that is best suited. So our information says rinse your stuff and flatten it and remove the labels and remove the lids and all that kind of stuff. Not all the haulers require that. And Veolia and Waste Management have a lot more technology investment in making things more recyclable. You can put more things in your curbside bins without all that preparation. But we have small haulers in the county still, and they require some source separation. They require some labels being removed. They require caps and rings being removed. So our information is very conservative so that if you prepare it that way, it's not a problem for your hauler. They can easily accept it if it's perfect. But the problem is if we make our standards more general, then we're going to hurt those smaller haulers. So they're conservative because they have to be at this point. If those haulers, if everybody changes and we all go single stream, like a lot of us are now, then we'll change those standards on the county website. And after talking to Randy last week, it might be something where we do it by customer. If you're a customer of Veolia, if you're a customer of Waste Management, you're a customer of Olson Sanitation or Stevens Sanitation, that we might have preparation standards that way. And I think that Veolia has done a good job for the village of putting information specific to the village's program, and I think it was their first municipal website they actually did that has the specific information for the village. So that will be a great tool. And they're going to link actually back to our website for things like hazardous waste and tires and appliances that they don't typically deal with. So.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? No other questions? Well, I'm excited because I'm a resident of the village as well. So this has been a little pet project of mine as well. And I appreciate being invited to give you the information. If there's ever questions, please don't hesitate to.
The
Contact me.
recycling bags that you've just held up that are
Yep.
from Roberts. Now, I was over at Fleet Farm when we were doing our negotiating, and over near the animal husbandry area, I noticed that there is a shelf with recyclable bags, but they appeared to me to be of a paper variety.
Yep, and the paper bags are actually better. They are completely compostable. If you're going to choose a film type bag, you want to make sure that it meets the ASTM standards, which is a standards organization that says it's indeed compostable. There's two different types of bags: compostable bags and biodegradable bags. Biodegradable bags mean we break up into really small little plastic pieces. Not that they actually break down, it just breaks into small pieces. The compostable bags actually become organic themselves and completely break down in the organic process. And so it's really important that if you're going to do the bag thing, and this bag actually, most of the bags will have it printed on it. This one says this plastic product meets ASTM D6400 specifications. And the DNR, and I can leave this with the village, the DNR guidance on this has those standards listed there. So it is important if you're looking for compostable bags. I would personally buy the paper ones first because they're completely compostable. And I would then look for the specified standards as well if I'm going to do the film bags. But I priced out the craft. The brown ones are called craft paper, so I priced out those craft paper bags last year, and it was like $2.50 for 5 of them. I mean, that's a real investment. I'm putting a little pressure on Veolia, I hope, to maybe purchase a lot of bags, a bulk of bags, so that they could provide some cost savings to the residents, and maybe we can make them available at a couple spots locally, or they can, there's something that can be worked out, because they really have the buying power. If they buy on behalf of the Village of Roberts, and they buy on behalf of the city and the village and other contracts that they have, they could probably get a lot more bags for their dollar. So I will continue to work with them on that as well.
Well, thank you, Jennifer.
Sure.
Anybody? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda, new business from the board or staff, president's comments. I have none. Just waiting for a cheer. Okay. However, our administrator.
Never happened before. It may not happen again.
Enjoy it.
Just for that, I have comments. No, I don't.
All right. None, Gloria?
Yep.
Great, all right, we're saving until later. Plan Commission, and I see our, number 7 already. Chair update, I see we got a conditional use permit to consider. So, Mike, it's all yours.
Yeah, that was we only had the one item on the agenda, and we had a public hearing on, right here, on the expansion of the Freedom Station. Good meeting. Nobody from the public had any comments.
Did you have any representatives from the community there?
We had some people there, but nobody spoke.
Okay.
We had a good discussion amongst the Plan Commission with the applicants. Just talking to Becky briefly, there were a few minor changes that came in after the commission approved it. For instance, hours of if you have it in front of you, I don't have it in front of me, but the hours of operation at the time, it was 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. I believe they're going to ask for midnight. I can't speak for everybody. I don't have a problem with that. And from the discussions we had with something like that, there wasn't a problem. As you see from the conditions that we have on what we did approve unanimously was, I'm going from memory again, but the boilerplate language about, the government regulations and all. But on the east side of the building, the back of the building, they have a rain garden proposed, and it's in the right of way of the sewer lines are. It's actually, the sewer lines are in there, is that right?
Well, actually, their rain garden would be within the easement.
An easement of that. And they've agreed with, council asked them to agree to in writing that in case that we have to come and fix the sewer lines and it gets all busted up, well, the village doesn't pay for that and the village doesn't pay to replace their stuff inside the easement. They agreed to that. And the other thing was
George,
the last
question appropriate on that point?
Yeah.
Mike, I noticed that when I was reading this, that Kevin, I think you had a recommendation that some of the plantings, the landscaping, the shrubbery in the rain garden not be put in. That just seemed curious to me.
you decrease the quantity of,
Right.
of plantings for ease of them maintaining the rain garden. You want any more on that?
Well, yeah, I understand that, but it looked like you were making a recommendation that was based on it's easier for them. I would have thought that was their decision rather than you making. I was just curious about the recommendation.
It was just a comment that we came up with, you know, when you looked at the original plan, just the amount of shrubbery that was proposed in that area. You know, by the time you look at full growth per se, I think there were like a 6-foot spacing requirement. And when they fully grow out, they're like a 4-foot diameter. So that would only leave you about 2 feet of clearance in between all those different shrubs. And if you ever had to go in there and, you know, maybe do some weeding of the rain garden or some of the leaf removal along with.
Where would that be on here, Kevin?
Well, wait, just why are we discussing the landscape plan, and why is the village engineer making plant recommendations
That was
for
my
a
question.
landscape plan?
Right, I would have thought that was up to Erickson's.
I
was
don't
curious
even know
about
what,
Yeah, it was
why
just
it's even merits any further discussion. And I've really never seen, well, the comments that you made to him, I would see him be more offhand than a recommendation from our engineering staff. If it's just a matter of planting preference, that's getting pretty picayune.
It's just a general comment is what it was.
I can address that when we get to the point.
Okay.
So mainly it was just for the, you know, the maintenance of the rain garden in the future is what we were looking at. It's,
Well, and I know that there's been times in the past where things have overgrown to the point where the DNR takes them over. We wouldn't have to worry about anything in that order in this case.
DNR there? You can't even get the highway to clear
No,
out.
I'm just saying. You wouldn't think that they would have took over that other place either, but that quickly.
yeah. So, you know, there is a storm sewer within the, you know, the rain garden, so you have, you know, just to get access to that is what we were looking at, so nothing more than that.
And that's all I took it as, just a technical observation by the engineer that this would be a better way of doing it. So, the other thing was, the last time this property had a conditional use permit, and I don't know if variance is the right word, but there's a requirement that no more than 75% of the land be impervious to rainwater, And that was, the village allowed them to change that to 80% back in, I believe it was 2003 when that came up. And again, because of the type of use, there's a lot of blacktop and things. You'll get into the more details when they talk about it, but we also thought it would be a good idea to maintain that, not to require them to go back to the standard of 75% impervial, but let them maintain the 80%. The board agreed, or the commission agreed to that. And otherwise, it was pretty straightforward. Looked like a good project. That's all we had. We had one comment from a citizen asking about sidewalks or something, but you can read that in the minutes because it was on not on the agenda. So, okay, thank you.
I have a feeling these gentlemen would like to present something.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Peter Hilger, the architect with Rylar, located in Matamidi. I've worked with the Ericksons for a long time, not on this project, but for a long time. Let me come right to the landscaping question so we can eliminate that. The whole issue was exactly one of maintenance. In other words, if you have too many plants in an area, it may be hard to maintain around them. What we have going on here, just so you're aware of some of the landscaping issues or some of the environmental issues, is we have roof drainage coming off to the east side right now. And so as part of our overall drainage plan, and it's an improvement over what we have right now, this is being converted into a rain garden. Since it's taking roof drainage, it doesn't generally take in a lot of silt. There's not a lot of silt associated with roof, so it's basically clean water. Our catch basin or outlet is located at the south end of this, so it's readily accessible. So our landscape designer thought that was erring on the side of having a slightly more density to keep the ground shaded, also to reduce the potential for mulch to float up when you have more root structure. So there was some logic and rationale to that. We, however, don't have any issue with reducing the amount of material back there. And the plans that have been submitted to you do reflect a revised quantity. So the plans that you see in front of you this evening do reflect the revisions that were made by the landscape designer to address that.
Have you seen the back of the building, the way it's been for the last 30 years? There's nothing there. Yeah. Who gives a shit?
So basically, to touch on what we're proposing here, you may recall that in 1977, the original conditional use permit was issued for the site. It was a Tom Thumb forever. Freedom Oil has been a tenant there for 5 years, and now owns a piece of property just to the north that we were considering developing into a new station because, frankly, we don't own this property. And there was an interest in owning the property over the long run. So we pursued that, and in the time period where it became apparent that we were looking at that, the owner of the existing shopping center elected, due to conditions in their family trust, to go ahead and sell the property. And so a purchase agreement was initiated, and we started work on this project in late November and scrambled to get a good design put together before you. So this presents a unique opportunity to recycle an older building that was dated to the late 70s and bring it back to its current to a current Freedom Oil standard. That in itself is a bit of a challenge. We're taking a bit of an older structure and trying to recast, reinvent it by adding a 2,000 square foot addition. The addition will be located on the north side. You may recall that in 2003 you also approved a proposal to expand this building by about 3,000 square feet all the way up to here. We're only proposing about a 2,000 square foot, and the purpose for that is just to get the site into balance. Balance in terms of how much parking we develop, how many pumps we put in, and basically how much hard surface is developed. At the 2003 conditional use permit, which was approved but never followed up upon by the developer at that time, you approved a variance from 75 to 80% impervious coverage on the lot. And the way we've accomplished that is to the area that you see shaded here incorporates what they call pervious concrete. And in your packet, there is some description about that. It's basically Rice Krispie bar on steroids. And it allows water to sort of percolate right through. It's a marvelous product. They're using it in a number of municipalities now for urban street projects, which greatly reduces the amount of storm sewer piping needed and reduces the concentration of groundwater into a system. So by doing so, we're able to reduce some of the runoff with the combination of the rain garden and a redressing of this particular pond structure here, which takes drainage not only from our site, but a substantial amount, obviously, from 35 into this corner drainage, so we have to keep that there. We've been able to develop this site to just slightly less than the 80% pervious coverage. The proposal calls for eliminating the existing parallel pump islands that are located there now, replacing them with the new angled pumps to improve the overall circulation through the property. So people coming in basically from either direction this way can pull in and basically have a fairly easy diagonal movement to the pump from either direction. What we're showing on this particular graphic is a vehicle. It's actually looks like a double vehicle, but they're pointed either way depending on which side your fuel tank is on. So that sort of gives you the maximum projection as to where a typical vehicle would be placed on the island if they were all operated. So this allows access from this side out or from this side through, and allows pretty generous maneuvering area here, which is important for us. The idea is to make the access to the pumps customer friendly and convenient. If any of you have been to the Lakeland Freedom Oil, this is very much a similar kind of a setup. We put a new pump island configuration out there with a new canopy, same basic configuration. That's going to require us, the curb line presently goes sort of vertically through here. The monument sign is located right about here, but we're basically pulling the curb, sort of consistent with the rest of the pattern up here, along this edge, down, and creating a new edge to this side of the parking lot, planning to install two new tanks. So we're removing the existing tanks and installing new tanks on the south side of the property. I'm not sure of the exact technicality, but I'm sure Darren could go into that if you have questions, but the tank is basically a blending tank, so we can provide multiple grades through 2 tanks rather than 3 tanks, which has been sort of the norm. We have some head-in parking here. The handicap stalls, of course, are accommodated. So that's basically the proposal for the site development. There is going to be a relatively short retaining wall basically on this corner separating the low pond area from the grade level of the parking. Be about, I think, a little over 3 feet high right in there with a landscape buffer on the top and, of course, the pond open on the bottom. The pond, I should say, is really not a pond. That is an infiltration basin because water doesn't really stay around, which is a good thing. We are proposing, we've already talked about the landscaping, and that was one of the comments on the 2003 submittal. There was no landscaping plan, so we proposed that we do have landscaping here along this edge and along the corner to dress up that primary focus. As far as the building itself is concerned, again, we're planning to take the building in its sort of general view and create the Freedom Oil gable with the sign all in the brick color, kind of matching the existing brick we have here, introducing some horizontal elements to it, introducing a copper-colored sort of canopy out there consistent with the theme of the Freedom Oil trade dress, and then matching the exterior on the north side and the rear of the building. A new storefront entrance in this location here, maintaining the existing windows and eliminating the existing entrance. So that's basically the plan in a nutshell. We have provided, of course, the complete civil drawings for your review. There were comments made by the engineer which have been addressed. The packet that you have does address the revised civil plans as well. So with that, I am open to questions, comments, concerns, or wholesale endorsement.
I'll move approval of the planning commission's recommendation.
I'll second.
Easy proof, isn't it?
The one
It's a nice
change, I guess, that was mentioned previous to the conditions for approval that you're discussing now would be that Freedom has asked that the hours of operation be extended to midnight rather than 11 o'clock. Because they are open
I'll
during the
move with
summer
that
till
condition.
midnight. Thank you.
This page here, Becky, are we talking about?
That's correct.
Okay, so,
Oh, yeah.
So should,
midnight?
Yes,
Just to clarify that, they're open to midnight during the summers and 11 o'clock in the winter, is that correct? That's correct. That's the current operating hours.
Is the change, is the requested change then be midnight all year long then?
No, the requested change was to be open till midnight during the summer months, which, you know, is
Would it be
roughly
simpler
mid-May through Labor Day.
You could do
Let-
more than.
I think we just say midnight, and
Midnight.
that covers it. If they want to
Midnight.
close earlier, they can.
You can
Right.
close it whenever you want.
Right, yeah.
Okay. It makes it a whole lot cleaner.
The other thing that's been added since the Plan Commission meeting is item number 8, which is we did receive a report from the fire inspector that has been included in your packet. It's been copied to them. They had no issues with it, but that is something that wasn't available at the time of the Planning Commission.
Okay.
is this, the conditions for approval, is that part of the motion?
It should be.
Yes.
Because other words, you end up attaching
Yeah, could you
this
read the motion
document
then?
and then.
Somebody? Anybody?
Well, Mark made a motion.
Yeah. I'm just saying the motion should include that, and we need to make sure that it does.
Maybe you just want to reword it, Mark.
Sorry, Mark.
All right, I'll move to approve the, which one, where is it? Conditions, I'll move to approve the Erickson Oil Products Freedom Value Center conditional use permit as approved by the Planning Commission with all the, with the 8 items enumerated, plus hours of operation going till 12 a.m. And what else?
12 p.m.
12 p.m., I'm sorry.
No, 12 a.m.
12 a.m., midnight,
Why don't you say midnight?
Let's say
midnight, whatever.
Either that or 12:01
That-
a.m. or 11:59 p.m.
Okay, midnight and,
Number 8 is if you're
Yeah.
enumerating number 8, it's included.
yeah, the fire inspector's comments are in here.
Okay, I second that.
Okay, thank you. That's okay. I'll get you back.
I know.
Okay, and Joe, you seconded that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I had a question. When would you anticipate getting started on the project, and when would you, we're pretty excited that you're gonna, I mean, it's really gonna clean up that corner, it's gonna clean up that station. I applaud this, I appreciate it, and I'm just excited to hear what you're gonna see when it's gonna be done.
Well, it's 10 to 8 right now.
Yeah. So sorry, but we have an ordinance about digging in the middle of the night.
Right. I think it's the anticipation. We wanted to get this approval before going to closing, and I believe that closing is scheduled sometime in February, actually, the 10th of February. So we had to get this approval before we could close. Once we get closed, then Darren and I and David will roll up our sleeves, work out the nitty-gritty details, get stuff ordered. And Dave indicated to me last time that he thought sometime in the summer he would like to be doing that. We don't know yet whether the store will close while we're doing it or we'll do it while we're opening, and that will affect the schedule one way or the other.
It'd be kind of hard to put those new islands in and still be pumping gas from the old ones, won't it?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
But I mean, down in
Changing
Lakeland,
one tank and.
Lakeland, we had the same issue, and basically the store was open even though they weren't selling gas.
Okay, all right.
So,
I have a question I want to ask Darren, but it has nothing to do with the approval. It's post-approval,
Okay.
so.
Can I just make one additional comment prior to approval? There is one additional piece of this that will be addressed by the Board of Appeals next Tuesday, February 9th at 7 p.m., and that is they have submitted an application for a variance to relocate the sign it needs to be moved based on the plans that have been submitted. There, you can address exactly where you're going to put it, but that one of the conditions here that you're approving is that that they do get approval by the Board of Appeals to for the variance on that sign.
Right. Yeah, just to explain that, the sign, existing sign is located right here. The ordinance requires it to be set back to the building setback line, which is right here. And if that were the case, the only spot that we could technically put the sign is there's a little sliver right here. And if you were to put that sign right there, it would not be seen by anybody coming southbound on 35. I mean, quite frankly, and that is not consistent with the location that the other neighbors enjoy. And so we've made a petition for a variance on that particular case to either relocate the existing sign or rebuild a new sign, basically in this roughly the same position, just moved at the northwest edge of that retaining wall.
Okay. Any other comments before we vote? Okay, all in favor of voting for this proposal indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We wish you luck. Darrell?
Thank you very much. You mentioned something that is just really interesting to me, and maybe Darren can address it. You indicated that there would be 2 tanks, and you're going to have 3 grades of octane. So you're indicating that there's some blending. I'm just interested in that technology. How do you do that?
Well,
Please use the mic.
Okay. It is a new technology. It's more economic, or excuse me, more environmental and economical to put 2 tanks in the ground instead of 3. And by having separate compartments within those tanks, we have the ability to either pump different grades out of those different compartments, or we can blend those. The pumps are designed to take product from both tanks and blend it into one premium grade. Yeah.
So based on the selection at the pump, that could result in the blending process you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
So.
That's it. I'm just
A little bit of this and a little bit of that?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have any questions, technical or otherwise?
I'm not sure. I don't know if that's.
We asked that at the planning commission, and they said they'd consider it.
Yeah, well, that's basically, I've been talking to
Because-
Paul, because the public works for us, we're always constantly running downtown with diesel.
But Dave said there might be some more sales there, they may do that.
We quite a few, a lot of diesel trucks.
That's really good to know. Yeah.
Is that why you guys are downtown all the time?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nick? So he's working for them now? Oh, and they were worried they may need an attorney.
I don't.
He works for a law firm out of Stillwater now.
Stillwater,
Okay. Well, I figured maybe they figured they needed an attorney.
Just in
Well,
case.
we're a tough outfit here.
Yeah.
Hi, Jim. Nice to see you. What'd you do?
Let's not lose momentum, George.
Huh?
Come on, let's go. George.
You
next.
wouldn't if you had your arm to slide. Finance Committee had a meeting earlier this evening. We pass along our wisdom and recommendations to the board. So, first thing we'll do is we'll take a look at claims and request an approval.
I'll move approval,
Of what?
whatever the amount is.
You got to read it.
Oh,
There's 2,
It's a new rule.
Oh.
But you can only do one at a time.
which one is it? This one?
It's the one that's
$31,493.53
that's the one.
2009.
for December 2009.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions on that amount? Okay. This being a spending issue, we'll have a roll call vote. We'll start with the gentleman on my far right. Darrell?
Yes.
George, yes?
Joe, yes.
Colleen, yes.
Yes.
That would have been Mark. We have, just as a comment here, so that you know why there are two different issue statements regarding the vote. What you just approved was closing out our 2009 expenses. And the second one that we have this evening is for those expenses incurred during this year so far, or at least during the month of January.
And I move to approve January 2010 non-reoccurring claims received in totaling $16,070.45.
Second.
Thank you, guys. This time we'll start with Mr. Zappa, way
Yes.
down the far end.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
All right. Next, we need to amend the 2009 budget. And before Gloria begins this, I just want to point out, for those of you who may not notice, that there's two sides to this sheet. And the back side of the sheet helps to explain both revenues and expenditures. Gloria, I'll leave it to you.
Basically, throughout the year, there were some decisions to do some additional projects that were not budgeted for. One of such was the state highway project, which we weren't aware of until late or early spring, and so we were unable to include it in our budget. We needed to repair the storm sewer over off of this corner here for the water runoff, and those are two items that came to about $31,000 and some change. The catch basins around the village were in desperate need of repair, and that was $23,000. There were some additional expenses in the general government for maintenance of computers. We had a lot of ordinance changes which required additional legal fees. And then you'll notice on the top of that page, the answer to those additional expenses are additional revenues that we did not have in our budget either. So it works itself out that there would be no draw from the undesignated funds or any additional loans other than the loan for the highway and the generator, which we had the generator we had budgeted for, but fell into the next year. And I still, with these changes, I still expect there are additional revenues, and there probably will be additional expenses that comes in the end, and I'm still thinking that we'll be on the positive side when all is said and done.
Mr. Chairman, I think an additional point should be made. This is a sources and uses amendment to the budget, and it does increase both revenue and expense, but it has no impact whatsoever on the property tax levy. This does not change the amount of property taxes that are being assessed.
Thank you, Darrell. Anybody else have any comments on this?
Do we have an issue statement that needs to be read to
I
approve this?
did not prepare an issue statement that don't.
So, well, I move to approve the amended 2009 budget, as just mentioned by Gloria, with an increase in revenues of $88,285 and an increase in expenditures of $88,285.
Second.
Any further discussion? I'm going to ask for a roll call vote on this because it does involve expenditures. Darrell, you want to start?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
I actually wasn't voting. I was just saying yes, I don't mind starting.
Too bad.
Okay. Ask him again then.
I'm not going to do it again. No. It was good. Item C, public fire protection fee notice approval. Let's see, we're going to approve one of these. Earlier this evening, you approved an adjustment to the meeting minutes from November that related directly to this topic that we have at hand here, the Hudson Fire Protection change. There's been a lot of discussion and a lot of work since November, since that board meeting and since the approval to go ahead with the this project. And you'll notice right at the top that Gloria put together some good information for us at the November 2009 Village Board meeting. The Village Board approved placing the public fire protection service costs on to the Hudson water utility bill as a direct charge to the residents of North Hudson and removed it from the tax levy. There's been some follow-up information. I have Terry at my left who can talk about some of the legal ramifications of this. And you'll see also in front of you a document that shows 3 options. During the Finance Committee meeting, we decided that option number 1 was the best, but we are very ready and willing to discuss the other 2 options. That having been said, I'm going to ask Gloria as well as Terry to intercede here and throw in some more light on this issue. Either of you want to add something?
I don't really have anything to add. Maybe just to clarify what's going on is that originally the motion was to charge the fire protection charge to everybody, the public fire protection charge to everybody in the village, whether they were utility customers or not. And we have bumped into a roadblock from the PSC who sets these rates and who determines whether or not you can do these things. And at this stage, it's uncertain whether or not they would allow us to charge non-utility customers. We just don't know yet, but the staff at the PSC has recommended against it. So we're waiting to hear the final word from their attorney, but the staff there has recommended against it, so it doesn't look very good. What they are perfectly, and the City of Hudson, by the way, does not do that either. So what they would like us to do is just line up with the City of Hudson as far as this goes, and just charge utility customers only.
We have an interesting situation in the village in that we have people such as myself who I have a water line in front of my house. My home is then serviced by that water utility. I get water out of the ground. I get water out of a pipe. I have 2 water meters. That may not be typical, but I do want to address something on that because it may be of concern. We can allay that concern right now. I do have 2 meters. One of them is for irrigation, and I am not charged a sewer charge on that meter. The other one, which is the one which typically all homeowners have who have city water, is for use of regular water throughout the house. And so I fully expect to be paying this whopping $19.85 bill that I will get every quarter, I believe. All right, then we have a situation. There are people down on Galahad Road, for example, who have a water pipe going right down the street in front of their homes. They do, for the most part, have wells, or at least most of them do. They have wells, and so they don't have water from the street, but yet it's there. And so they get a meter charge. It's not really a meter, but they get a charge. And then there are people, for example, and they're not the only ones, the people over in St. Croix Station, the pipe isn't there, and all of their water comes right out of the ground in there on their property. So we have those 3 situations, and the one that we're addressing and the one that we're asking the board to consider tonight is to, at this time, and we may have to change, we may change this in the future, the residents pay the PFP charge as a direct charge on their water utility bill, or their water bill from the Hudson Water Utility, and it will be only for the customers at this time for the Hudson Water Utility.
Mr. Chairman, I've done some wordsmithing, and I've got a motion to suggest, if
Please
that would
do.
be in order.
Yes.
I move that the board leave the PFP service cost as residents paying for the PFP charge as a direct charge on their water bill from the Hudson Water Utility. And currently, only customers of the Hudson Water Utility shall be charged, comma, unless changed in the future.
I like that wording. I hope you have that so that you can give that to Becky
I do.
after the meeting. Do I have a second to Darrell's motion?
Second.
Thank you, Colleen. Any further discussion? Is this clear? Does anybody have any questions about this? We are moving cautiously in this particular item, and we are anticipating that there will be some concerns. And I can tell you right now, I laid out my own situation where I have a separate meter for irrigation. I am not going to be charged double. It will only be for one, because I only have one pipe coming up my front lawn. All right. Anything else? All right. I'm not sure whether this should be a roll call vote.
It's
Doesn't
not
involve
required,
money,
but probably is
I'd
not a bad
like.
idea.
Let's start this time with Mark.
Yeah.
Yes.
Colleen.
Yes.
George, yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. This will be coming before us again in the not-too-distant future. Gloria, I see on here we have two items which you had requested that we table. That'd be item D and E. D being 210 Water and Sewer Replacement and Major Repair Fund, and also 201 Wastewater Collection Transmission Facilities Repair and Maintenance Fund. And I'll move that we table this. Table these two items.
Do we need a second for that?
I think so.
Yes. Are you tabling to a specific time?
No,
Tabling indefinitely?
until Gloria is ready to bring it back to us.
I'll
I
second.
think that's good, no.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Joe. All right. All in favor of the motion to table those items D and E indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item F is Storm Sewer Utility Fund. And I see this is just for discussion. What do we have to discuss here?
Maybe an update from Kevin.
Yeah, I'll just give you
Okay. Update from Kevin.
a quick update on the stormwater utility creation. I guess to date, we've gone through and actually calculated all the impervious areas, which basically, if you remember, that's going to be for the industrial, commercial, and the multifamily businesses, residential areas within the village. The main being, down by the shop yard areas. There's quite a few commercial areas along Highway 35, and then all of the multifamily that's spread out within the corporate limits. We've come up with a draft ordinance that's been forwarded off to Gloria and Terry and Mark Ekblad, and they're currently reviewing that. So we'll be bringing that forth to the village board for their review and approval. The other thing is we're starting to gather some of the costs that are associated with the maintenance items that the village is currently occurring, which would be like your street sweeping, leaf collection, maybe some of the mowing for some of the existing ponds that you have within the village. You had a pretty major expense here last year with some of the repair on 35, some of those dollars. And along with that, we'll be coming up with a CIP, a capital improvement plan, looking out, say, the next 5 years. Maybe some of the street projects that involve some storm sewer replacements. Number one that comes to mind is, the 10th Street project that's, slated to be constructed this year. So that will be one of the CIP projects that will be in that list. And the other thing is that, schedule-wise, the ultimate goal is to have this thing in place by June of this year. So we're looking, having the public hearing for that May April or May of this year to, to have it in place for June. So that's where we are at.
Okay.
They can open up to any questions and maybe some of the trustees would have.
You got any questions, Harry? Nope.
We'll have more on it later.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Kevin, where's it gonna go before it comes to the board? Right to the board?
That's something could be up for discussion. We could
Okay.
start
You
looking
don't
at
know
it.
right now.
Public Works.
You didn't mention it right now. I did miss that.
No.
Yeah, I think it was talked about that it would be filtered through Public Works once it got to a stage where they could have something to review.
And maybe we could bring, the map that we've, delineated
Right,
out.
My only question was, I didn't know if you overlooked that, or if it was something slated to go right to the board, and that would have been unusual, so I was wondering
Yeah.
if that was.
Yeah, we can start bringing it up at the Public Works meeting then. Start looking at it.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Public Works.
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Public Safety.
No report?
I did notice in the Public Works Committee meeting minutes, Chief Richard discussed, has begun his third year of teaching Counteract
Yeah.
to 3 fifth-grade classes at North Hudson School.
Yeah, it's a great program.
It is. It's a great program, and it's a great way for kids to see our police officers in perhaps a totally different light than the way some of us may see them on occasion. All right. Did Public Welfare have anything else? We didn't talk about chair update, so.
We didn't meet in January.
Okay. But I'll bet the Park Board did.
Well, actually, the park board didn't meet in January, but I do have a couple things. I met today with Chief Richard and Carol Torning, who was the daughter of Chief Jansen, just to begin discussions on what we want to do as far as a plaque in the park for him. And so we would like, if there's any citizens who have any stories about Chief Jansen impacted your life, especially as a youth. Chief Richard said that there's been a lot of stories that he has heard where Chief Jansen had kind of turned some youth around who were kind of headed down the wrong path. So if there's any stories like that, we just kind of like to get started on collecting those. And we'll probably have some kind of a scrapbook or something, and then use something to have a plaque in addition to the sign that just says the name of the park. So we're still just kind of discussing what we will do for that. And then the other item is Patrick had sent out requests for bids on appraisal for the railroad property, and you do have copies of that. And there was 2 that came in this afternoon, and one of them was for that $3,500, which is what Cedar Corp had anticipated the cost to be for the appraisal. For the, and the other one was quite a bit more. So, and this has been already approved in the budget, but I would like to accept the appraisal proposal from J.C. Norby and Associates for the appraisal of the railroad property for a fee of $3,500.
Motion?
Yes, that was my motion.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Now, these funds would be coming out of Park Board.
Yes, it's the funds that we had approved.
I want to make sure that that's clear that, all right.
They have already been budgeted for.
Mhm. This information was provided for us this evening as we had not received this earlier. That's why some of us are reading it very hastily.
How many many RFPs were sent out? Did we receive only 2 back, but more
He
were
had,
sent out?
he had sent out the letter, he said, to 3, and 2 were returned.
Any concerns, Darrell?
Not for discussion purposes.
Okay. These companies or these appraisers, do they specialize in this type of work?
They are approved by the DNR.
Okay. Anything to add to that,
Yeah,
Kevin?
they have to meet certain qualifications for the DNR grant, and all 3 that were sent out to do meet those requirements, so.
Okay.
But yes, there was 3 that were sent out.
The $3,500, does that seem like a fair amount for this work?
Yeah, that's what we had slated for when we looked at it last fall, was the $3,500, so they
Okay.
did come in at what we would anticipate.
All right, thank you. We have a motion on the table, it's been made and seconded. Anybody have any further questions or discussion? Take a roll call vote. Start with Darrell.
Yes.
George, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds like the motion passed. Anybody have anything else, Mark?
Second.
Thank you all.
I want to announce that there is an election, spring primary for
Okay.
the
On the
16th.
16th. Just before we all approve the motion to adjourn, there is a primary on February 16th because of the school district. Okay, thank you very much. We're adjourned.
What's